on to one of my previous videos that I did on strength and conditioning training. This time I want to explain strength training on its own, and I also want to show you some exercises that you can do to improve your muscle strength. Everything specifically for runners. So I've mentioned that running uphill is not considered strength training. This is because strength training is defined as the maximum amount of force a muscle can exert against some form of resistance. It's not about the tempo of the movement, like during power training for instance. It's all about the load you use. Now, body weight is only enough load if you are doing isolated muscle groups. If you are doing exercises like primal patterns or exercises that use a combination of muscle groups, you have to add additional load to it, and a lot of it. Let me jump right into the specifications of strength training. Starting with load. You have to load 85% of your 1 repetition max. That is 85% of the maximum amount of weight that you can manage for one full repetition of whatever exercise you're doing. Now, there are ways to determine your 1 repetition max, but what I found in practice to work better is to use a certain amount of weight that something you think you can manage, and then do repetitions and see how many you can get. If you, for instance, need to do 8 repetitions of a certain exercise and you can only manage 6 of them, then you know your weight is too much, you have to decrease it. If you can manage 8 repetitions, but you are also able to do 2 or 4 or 6 more repetitions as well, then you know your weight is too little and you have to increase it. So that when you are done with your 8th repetition, you are not able to do anything more than that. Then you know you are on your maximum weight capability, and that's the amount of load that you should use. Staying with load, you should also increase your load on a regular basis as you gain strength. If you stay on the same load, there will be no more adaptation taking place in your muscles, and you will not gain any more benefit from it. This is called the set principle, specific adaptation to impose demand. I suggest you increase your weights every 2 to 4 weeks or so, depending on how fast your muscles adapt to the new weight. Now, science tells us that 8 repetitions is optimal for building strength in runners. We should also do 4 to 5 sets of each exercise and have 3 to 5 minutes recovery between each set. So that's 8 repetitions, 4 to 5 sets, 3 to 5 minutes recovery between each set. Now, the timing of the repetition is also important. In running, we have to focus on building eccentric strength. This will help your body to absorb the impact of running. We do this by decreasing the time of your repetition when you're moving with gravity. We use a 4-2-2 tempo, which means 4 seconds along with gravity, control down, 2 second hold, and then 2 seconds back up again, just like in this demonstration. And lastly, we have to do at least 2 sessions of strength and conditioning each week to have a noticeable difference in your muscle strength. Also remember to have at least 24 hours recovery between 2 of these strength and conditioning sessions, except if you're not used to doing strength and conditioning. Then I think you should rather go for 48 hours recovery between 2 sessions. There are a few exercises that works well for strengthening muscles, but since running is a single leg sport, you will notice that all my exercises are done on one leg at a time. Just remember to do a proper warm-up before you start with these exercises. Here are my favorite strengthening exercises for runners. The first few exercises are primal based patterns, and you can do them to build strength in a combination of muscle groups. The first exercise is called an athletic squat or a split squat. You start by putting all your weight on your front leg. As you move down, try to keep your knee behind your toes. So try to shift your weight more towards your heel. You can use any form of weight. It doesn't have to be a barbell. You can also use dumbbells or hold kettlebells or even put a backpack on. Remember to keep the tempo at 4-2-2, 4 seconds control down, 2 seconds hold, and then 2 seconds back up to the starting position. 8 repetitions, nothing more, nothing less. The second exercise is called a single leg squat. Now, the same principles apply to the single leg squat, except you do not have a support leg behind you. In this example, I use a hex bar for load. You can also use a barbell or a backpack or even dumbbells in your arms. The third exercise is called a single leg sit to stand. Try to keep your knee in line with your toes so you don't have a knee falling in or falling out as you go down. Don't fall down onto the bench. Try to control the movement all the way until you can sit flat on the bench. And then when you get up again, don't use too much momentum. Try to push out of your heel and use your strength to push you up. And lastly, a lunge step up on a bench. Again, the same principles apply. Just make sure you control the movement down all the way and you keep your balance on the bench. And then I also have a few exercises for you that you can use to isolate muscle groups. These are also important for runners. Starting with a calf raise. This time targeting the gastrocnemius muscle group, and you will see that my knee is in a straight position. You can add a quarter to half of your body weight as additional load. The second exercise is also a calf raise, but this time it is done with a bent knee. This to target the soleus muscle group. You can use 1.3 times your body weight for added load. And then for your hamstring muscles, we have a Russian lean. This time, do not add any more weight, but rather try to control the movement as slow as possible. Also, it is very important to keep a straight back and not lean forward out of your hips. On the opposite side, we have a quadricep lean, and it works exactly the same as a Russian lean, except we're going backwards. In this exercise, you can add another weight. And lastly, we have one for the glutes, a single leg glute bridge. Once again, the tempo controlling down is very important. You can also add some weight to this exercise. To summarize it all for you, 8 repetitions, 4 seconds down, 2 seconds hold, 2 seconds up, 85% of your 1 repetition max load, 3 to 5 minutes rest between each set, 4 to 5 sets. And there you have it. Strength training 101. In my next video, I'll do the same with power training and show you a little bit more on that as well. And I want to repeat what I said in my previous video. Strength and conditioning can only support your running. It can never replace it. So keep running on top of your priority list. Enjoy.